Joining us now to discuss the situation is Rachel Blumberg, the CEO of the Palm Beach County-based retirement community. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today.
Of course. So, Rachel, to start us off, could you tell us a little bit more about Sinai residences? How many residents do you have, and what kind of needs do they have?
Sure, we are a senior living community, home to more than 500 older adults. We offer the full range of services from independent living, assisted living, memory care, short-term rehabilitation, and long-term skilled nursing care.
So, how many employees do you roughly have at the moment?
We have about 430 employees are on our payroll.
Yeah, and Rachel, as I mentioned at the outset, several immigration programs have been cut by the Trump administration. Has your center been affected by these changes in immigration policy?
Absolutely. About 8% of my workforce is affected by TPS. We've already seen ramifications through the termination of the CHNV parole program, where we lost 10 employees. And there's some confusion and some misunderstanding in the public by the term the CHNV parole program. It's really a humanitarian program. These individuals were not criminals. They were upstanding employees, hardworking individuals that took the legal path to be in America, to live and work here with the legal work authorization that was ripped away from them literally overnight. So it was a Thursday night, the federal government ended the program, and the next day, unfortunately, we had to face each of the individuals to let them know that the federal government had revoked their work authorization. They were no longer allowed to work or live in America, and they were ordered to immediately self-deport. It was incredibly heartbreaking.
And those were 10 employees, right?
Those were 10. We have 30 more employees that are on TPS. And if that decision is not amended or rescinded, or if we don't see things like the Dignity Act accepted, then we face losing 30 more employees, which is 8% of my workforce.
And before we move forward, I do want to just clarify that that CHNV program that you mentioned is that program I mentioned at the top for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans,
Yes.
and Venezuelans.
Correct, it is. So CHNV is kind of like a branch of TPS. TPS began in 1990 with President Bush, and over the years, it's taken on some modifications.
Right.
So CHNV is one of those. And that one began about 2 years ago. And yes, it was Nicaraguan, Venezuelan, Haitian, Cuban immigrants that came over. And it was unfortunately abruptly ended.
Right.
And now we have TPS remaining. But yes, they are one of the same, essentially.
Yeah. And Rachel, before we move forward, I do want to ask you about the day that that happened. Could
Mhm.
you clarify how many of those employees you just discussed were medical employees, if at all, or maintenance or on
Uh,
your staff for other services?
They all contribute to our operations. It's actually the entire range of all four corners, if you will, of our operation. Of course, our essential workers, like our nurses and our certified nursing aides, our caregivers, are critically essential. But we lost other essential workers, like you said, maintenance technicians, culinary employees, cooks, dishwashers, housekeepers. It truly affected every aspect of our operation because all of these employees and their jobs are essential to our 24/7 operation.
This is the South Florida Roundup on WLRN. I'm Helena Acevedo. I'm speaking with Rachel Blumberg, the CEO of the Toby and Leon Cooperman Sinai residences in Boca Raton, about how the Trump administration's immigration crackdown has affected the assisted living facility. Take us back to that day when you learned that your employees under the CHNV program were
Ah,
essentially not authorized to work in the country anymore.
yeah, it was awful. Um, we found out on a Thursday night and said, okay, it was already in the evening after 5 o'clock. What are we going to do? So my human resources team and I decided to come in early Friday morning to meet with the individuals affected. Many of them were not aware of the change. It was not a publicly broadcasted decision. There was a very quiet message on the federal government that the program had been terminated. Individuals did receive an email, but if they didn't log into the federal government's website, they didn't know the content of that email was telling them to self-deport. I met with them with at least one or two of my HR team individually out of respect for each individual. We didn't feel like a group setting would be dignified. I think the positive side is that we were able to share this information with heart, compassion, and with dignity, with care, with a hug. It was horrific news to have to share it with somebody, but we were able to look them in the eyes and tell them how much we care about them,
Right.
let them know if the decision is changed. They always have a job with us. We did give each of them $2,000. There's no amount of money that will help anybody in this circumstance because they don't know where to go. They don't know what the plan will be for their future. There was a lot of confusion from the individuals that we spoke to that weren't clear on why this happened. And I just kept telling them, you've done nothing wrong. You have done absolutely nothing wrong. Unfortunately, it's just because of where you were born and that this program was terminated. But it was heartbreaking. It felt like a funeral. And I felt so helpless. I wanted to so badly to say this wasn't real, it wasn't happening. But it was the cold hard facts and reality of the decisions that were made that we had to enforce.
And Rachel, what's been the most immediate impact to your day-to-day operations since you've lost these employees?
Well, my human resources team has been feverishly working to replace them. We have to utilize other people to fill in the gaps with overtime. And, we're doing the best that we can to manage. In total, we're looking at 40 positions that we have to replace between TPS and CHNV. It's a huge strain on the organization as a whole. It's stressful. It's sad for my residents who have incredibly strong bonds with these individuals. They're not just employees, they become part of a family to our residents. So the relationships are very deep when you've become accustomed to spending each and every day with a caregiver or an employee that you've grown to know so well. It's more than politics. It's a matter of the heart. It's matters of humanity. And to me, those are the deepest cuts of all when it comes to this circumstance.
Right. Have you heard from residents? How have they responded to the loss of some of this staff? And have they felt the impact of the latest changes at your center?
Without a doubt, our residents want to know what they can do. They've been writing our elected officials, calling them. They have offered everything under the sun regarding ideas on how they can help overcome this problem. How can they save these individuals? They are heartbroken. They are in tears. They want to be problem solvers. They want to help be the solution. But ultimately, this decision really lies in the federal government's hands. We have to go through the courts and we have to go through the appeal decision. And hopefully the reintroduction of the Dignity Act may...
I just want to clarify to listeners that the Dignity Act of 2025 is a bill that Miami Republican Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar is getting behind. She's reproposing the bill, which would have migrants pay restitution to legally remain in the U.S.
Yes.